What's going on, everyone? My name is Benjamin Nock with MONSTERBASS, and today I'm excited to talk to you about the Z-Man TRD TicklerZ and the Z-Man ShroomZ. Now, I'm excited about this bait because it's a take on one of my favorite Z-Man soft plastics ever, the hula stick, but in that TRD smaller profile. This bait measures 2 3/4 inches long, and it pairs up perfectly on the ShroomZ, which is more of a smaller profile Ned rig style bait. Now, I'm going to spend today's video talking to you guys about why this bait is so effective, where to fish it, how to fish it, and basically why I like this bait so much for going out and catching big fish, because a lot of people don't think of this as a big fish technique, but I promise you, if you throw it in the right areas and they fish it the right way, it's going to catch big fish. And hopefully by the end of this video I'll convince you of that as we get to talking about this product. So I'm a big podcast listener, and on the way to the lake today I was listening to Bass Talk Live, and they had David Dudley on, who is like the FLW's all-time money leader. And the reason for that is because he catches a lot of fish. Not only a lot of fish, but he catches a lot of really big fish. And one thing that he had talked about was the power of do-nothing baits, and particularly do-nothing soft plastic baits that catch big fish. And it got me to thinking, as I was coming to film this video, like, what really is the power of the Ned rig? The power of the Ned rig is that you can basically fish it around areas that other guys are fishing jigs through, big soft plastics through, and fish it really slowly in front of these big bass and get them to bite. It looks more natural underwater because not all the time underwater are things dancing around, going crazy, shaking their claws and making a lot of commotion. Most often, those crawfish and bluegill and whatever other bait fish you have in your area are just scooting along, kind of living their life, being really innocent, and then that big bass sees that and comes over and just goes and eats it. They crush it, right? Big bass are predatory creatures who just want an easy meal. So when they see something kind of just hanging out down there, acting really innocent, it's a really easy meal for them. And that's why it catches a lot of really big fish. So it got me to thinking, you know, the Ned rig is such an effective tool because it is a do-nothing bait. It doesn't really have a lot of action. It doesn't really move around a lot. It doesn't move a lot of water. But what it does is it sits in front of this bass's face, kind of acts supernatural, and it catches big fish. Now, today we're talking about the Z-Man TicklerZ, but this goes for all Ned rig techniques, all Ned rig baits. Just think of it more of a big fish catching bait and not only as a numbers bait. It's not something I throw only when I need to get bites. It's a bait that I always have tied on, and the reason for that is because it catches big fish just as easily as it catches numbers of fish. Now, I'm going to stick you on my chest, I'm going to get off my soapbox, and I'm going to teach you how, where, when, and why I throw this bait to be effective and go out and target bigger than average bass. I don't want to go too much into the setups on this video. My man Travis Manson from Smallmouth Crush has a couple really good videos talking about Ned rig basics, where he goes over the setups in depth. But I'm fishing it on a spinning rod, 7-foot medium extra fast rod, 15-pound test braid to a fluorocarbon leader. Any spinning rod setup will work just perfect. You just need something light enough to handle lighter line and lighter gear. I really want to talk to you guys about where I'm fishing this bait, though, because I think that's what's more important in targeting those bigger than average bass. So as I was talking about, this is a big fish bait as well as it is a numbers bait. Now, the way that I look at it, the more fish I can catch, the more opportunities I have to catch a giant bass. Because if I catch 40 fish, if I catch more fish than everyone else, I'm bound to run into a big one, especially if I'm fishing in the right areas, which is what I want to talk to you guys about right now. Now, the key with a Ned rig, the key with the Z-Man TRD TicklerZ, is you want to fish it in target-rich environments. Now, you're going to hear me say that quite a bit, so what does that mean? Now, target-rich environments are areas where you know bass are living, whether it's docks or whether it's around shallow cover, wood, laydowns, shallow rock. It's areas that bass should live, but not only bass, but big bass. If you're fishing it around areas that big bass live, you're bound to catch a big one every now and again. And so that's the deal. The other thing, it's not a good search bait. You have to fish this bait so slowly that you really have to fish it on areas that you're confident bass are living. And when you do that, you're gonna get some bites, and you're bound to get the right bites as you start catching those fish. Big one. Oh, that's a big fish. It's a really solid bass. That's a solid fish on the Z-Man TRD ticklers. Look at that. Look at how fat and healthy this fish is. Pre-spawner. Just hanging out, looking, getting ready to spawn. What a pretty fish. Thank you. Check it, guys. Little 6-ounce head, green pumpkin TRD ticklers. Big ol' 3.5 pound largemouth. Thank you, fish. Swim away. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this bait and I'm making a long cast towards areas I know bass are living. I'm fishing a sloping point right now that has some rock on it, and I know there are bass in the area. I know that there's a lot of fish staging to spawn, and I know there's some fish just kind of hanging out here that are resident fish. Now, what is a resident fish? A resident fish is a fish that lives in the same area his entire life. Whether it's shallow or deep, that fish will spawn deep, live deep, hang out deep, chill deep, winter, there's bass. Winter deep and everything in between. Same thing goes with shallow bass. There are bass that will live shallow no matter what the temperature, spring, summer, winter, fall. Now that's a small fish, but I'm catching fish. Spring, summer, winter, fall will live shallow, and a lot of times you can figure out where those big bass live by finding some of those resident fish. And as you weed through some of these fish, you're bound to catch a big one. Now let me show you guys the retrieve I'm using and how I'm fishing it to target those bigger fish. So the way that I fish the ticklers is relatively simple. I make a long cast away from the boat. Now I'm fishing a big grass flat where there's some fish living, and I'm gonna let this bait sink to the bottom. Now that's key because I want this bait in contact with the bottom. I'm fishing it on a 6-ounce Z-Man ShroomZ head, and I'm just dragging it along. And I'm feeling it catch the grass, and I'm making a short pop. But for the most part, I'm fishing this bait pretty slowly. All I'm doing is shaking the slack. So when the bait's down there, it's just wobbling back and forth. I don't want to move this bait a ton. I just kind of want that bait to shake, do the action for me. And I'm just using my slack line to make this bait move and help me target those big fish. Now, the key here, these bass are going to come over and find it. Bass by nature are curious creatures, so you don't have to do much with this bait. Hence my conversation earlier about do nothing baits. It sits down there, shakes back and forth, and these bass will come over and just crush it. So I'm not doing a ton with it. You want to make a long cast or cast to whatever piece of target you're fishing, whether it's cover, offshore structure, areas that fish are living. Let it hit bottom. Just shake that slack. Shake that slack. And just let fish come over to it, get curious. And those big, curious, hungry bass are bound to come over and eat this thing. Super, super simple way to fish, but it catches giants, catches numbers, and I promise, the more you throw it, the more confidence you'll have, and the more it'll be on the deck of your boat or in your kayak or on the shore with you, no matter where you're fishing, not just when days are tough. That's a big fish. Look at that. That's how we're gonna end this video right here with a nice largemouth bass. Now I hope this video gives you guys the information and knowledge that you need to go out and throw the Z-Man TRD ticklers to not only catch numbers of fish, but also catch really big ones. Remember, it's a target fishing bait. I'm fishing down this line of docks where I know big fish and numbers of fish live. And that showed it out right there. That big fish ate this little Z-Man TRD ticklers. If you have any questions or comments about this bait, please let us know down in the comment section below. I'll be down there responding to each and every one of you guys. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys very, very shortly.